Serious, what is the scariest thing that has happened to you in, near the woods? Asterisk, asterisk, attention. Serious. Tag notice asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted in asterisk any asterisk comment. Parent or child. Asterisk parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Asterisk report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. Asterisk I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit. Message compose to = askReddit if you have any questions or concerns. Asterisk. Camping with some friends on the Northern Irish border. Solid night, a few drinks, nice fire, and we turned in late. After 20 minutes of settling down, the fire, which had been well and truly stamped out, starts back up. We can see the glow through the tent walls. Being lazy 15-years-olds, we don't go back out and sort it. Another few minutes pass and we hear some footsteps. One of us calls out, "Who is there?" Quote, no response. More footsteps, twigs crack, and now as they pass close to the tent, whoever is out there brushes the tent wall. We call out again. No response. More footsteps. The number increases. They brush gently against the tent walls more and more. It sounds like 20 or 30 people walking around the tents as quietly as possible, wiping their hands on the tent walls, trying to freak us out. Needless to say, we are pretty terrified. After way too long paralyzed, I crawl out of the tent. Still a dark, moonless night with only the smoldering remains of the fire giving off a dull red glow. I see nothing, no one. Hours of broken, restless sleep and more of the same terrifying noises. The sun rises. We get out of our tents, greeted by the sight of 50 or so sheep. Heavy winds had blown life back into our fire and blown down a section of fence, giving the sheep an escape from a nearby field to our clearing. In the end, I was just glad none of the sheep had caught fire. I used to walk my dog down near the river, along the same path every day, which had a section going through the woods. One day he just passed that section up and walked towards the sidewalk instead. I went along with it, because it was the same amount of time, either way. I happened to glance down the path as we passed it, and saw two figures dart into the woods. I passed people all the time on that path, even after dark like that night. And I never got chilled like that before. Even the really weird stuff didn't really bother me. Something about those guys was different, and I think my dog knew it. He was a good dog. He used to knock me down and stand on me when he heard gunshots and stuff like that. He saved me a lot, but I couldn't save him this year. He died of a brain tumor when he was 3. I'll probably never have another dog, TBH. He was it. I used to work at a summer camp in the hill country. After the kids went to sleep, the counselors would go about screwing around and doing the usual stupid things that 18 to 24-year-olds do when minimally supervised and plenty of space to roam. One night, on a full moon, a group of us had taken one of the trucks out to a nearby field to smoke and drink. The field was surrounded by woods, filled with waist-high grass, and had a single road running down the middle of it. We stopped in the exact center of the field and were chilling for about 20 minutes when someone says, "Who is that?" Quote. It wasn't a "what," but a "who" question, which piqued my interest. I turn around, and at the entrance to the field where we had come from, there's this person just standing there. They were about 100 yards off, and it was nighttime, clear with a full moon, so we couldn't make out much detail except that they were wearing light white clothes and were white. It was super weird. We called to them to come join us, but they just started pacing back and forth in front of the entrance to the field. This went on for a couple of minutes. Welp. About 2/3 RDS of the people in the truck bed of the truck were high and started to work themselves into a stoner's paranoia, so my buddy and I took over the cab and turned the truck around to put the high beams on whomever was over there at the edge of the woods. With the beams out, we could see them pacing back and forth. As soon as we flipped them on, it was just field and woods with road going off straight ahead. Turn the lights off and there the person is pacing back and forth. Lights on, person gone. Lights off, white figure clearly walking back and forth. The people in the back of the truck were losing their ducking minds at this point. I turned to my buddy in the driver's seat and said, "We have to drive through there to get to the camp." He just says, "Yup." I told everyone in the back to sit down and that we were heading back. One girl starts crying. Two guys are pulling out pocket knives. Terrible idea since they're in the back of a bouncing pickup truck on a dirt road and stoned out of their minds. The last guy just grabs the side of the truck and looks terrified. We turn on the high beams and drove towards the entrance. No figure in sight. We pass into the woods along the road. No figure. Someone from the bed of the truck yells, "She's still there." After we passed through, we got back to the camp, hid the beer and weed and never went back to that field again. When I told a sanitized version of that story to the campers, they laughed at me. I had never seen anything like that before or since, but I am now convinced I saw a ghost. I don't know what it was about, but I saw it. Edit, no bear, just beer. When I was a police cadet in the SQ, Quebec's provincial police, the cop who I was with got a radio from an officer patrolling around a sewage facility that was near a forest hotspot for teens thinking that they are Satanists to do their little ritual in the storm drain sewage pipes, asking for backup. When we arrived to the scene, no one was there, and the police car had all of its windows shattered, but no sign of the officer. After getting search and rescue, we searched all night for him until we found him unconscious in the woods. He told us that after making the call, something hit him in the back of the head and he blacked out. When I was a teenager, I worked nights part-time at the airport sorting packages for a major U.S. carrier. I worked with my best friend, and since we both lived about 20 miles away from work, we'd carpool. He'd usually meet me at my house and we'd drive down to work. My house at the time was nestled in at the edge of a state forest, heavily wooded area. One night we're coming back about 4 a.m. I park my car, we get out, nothing unusual. Typical woodsy nighttime summer sounds, crickets, some birds. All of a sudden, we hear a blood-curdling scream like I've never heard before. A woman was definitely in distress or being raped or attacked or something in the woods not far from home. I run inside the house and probably give my parents a heart attack by shouting, "I need the shotgun." Quote. Dad jumps out of bed, and by this time he hears the screams as well. Nice cool night, windows open. We load up, grab flashlights, and 45 seconds later are out the back door, sprinting with my buddy towards the sounds. At the edge of the woods we stop and listen. Nothing. No screaming whatsoever. A minute goes by. We walk into the woods, shining our lights all over, walking down the trails, shining lights up into the trees. But we hear nothing again. We call out. We hang around for an additional 15 minutes or so before heading back. It was the oddest, most scary thing that happened while living there. We get back to the house, and Mom had called the sheriff's office, who took our info down and said they'd send a car out. No one ever came that night, but later the next morning, we did get a visit from old deputy who took our report. The deputy listened, and then suggested it was likely a fox. big cat, bobcat, maybe even a mountain lion. I swear to this day it was a human female screaming for her life. But after searching the nearby woods during the day, we found nothing. No one was reported attacked or missing. A few weeks later, I'm home asleep at night, window open, and wake to my dachshund on my bed staring out the window, shaking uncontrollably. I look over, and there, framed perfectly by the light of the moon, was a large cat on its hind paws peering in the window. I jump out of bed, startling it, and it quietly jumps away. We never saw or heard anything after that. My family moved a few years later, so I guess the deputy was right, it probably was a big cat. But to this day those sounds still haunt me late at night when I'm out camping or spending time near the woods. Be in the middle of the Australian bush, at least 50 km from any civilization or human. I'm hunting with my brother and we are startled by what seems to be perfectly clean and unused oven. Just sitting there, no dust, nothing. It even still had warranty tags hanging off it and everything. We just continued on our way feeling confused and weirded out.